I'd like to welcome you all here to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Council, the Municipality of Thames Centre. The date is Monday, March the 9th, 2026. The time is 5 p.m. I would like to call this meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda that since the circulation? No, I don't see any. So a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda of March the 9th, our meeting tonight. Councillor Lockie and Deputy Mayor Smybert, all in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest from the members of council? All right, I see none. I do have one announcement here tonight. It's my real pleasure to note that Hemans, who Councillor Heman is part of the Heman family, Heman Garden Centers, received the Sustainability Trailblazer of the Year Award from the Ontario Southwestern Tourism Conference on March the 5th of this year. The award recognizes tourism businesses that are finding meaningful ways to reduce environmental impact while strengthening communities. So I'd like to offer our congratulations to Hemans. Yes, absolutely. Do any members of council have some announcement? Councillor Lockie, go ahead.
Yep, through your worship. I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that tree power is back. So this is working with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. And so order the trees online starting today. And all the information is on our website. And then I know this is a while ahead, but Earth Day will be here before we know it. And so we just have a lot of events that are coming up. So people in our town can, take the opportunity to help make us even more beautiful. We've got the Mill Pond cleanup, and also in Thorndale as well. So they'll be cleaning up the Mill Pond there. So if you want to get involved, so stay tuned for the information, and yeah, it'd be great to see a lot of people out.
Thanks, Councillor Lockie. Anyone else with anything they'd like to announce? Okay. Then we will move to item number 6 of the meeting, which is under drainage 6.1. And this is a meeting to consider the Rollston drain. So I'm going to ask our engineer, Mike DeVos, to come forward with an overview of the work that's required. Whenever you're ready, Mike, just go ahead.
Good evening. The report for the Rollston drain is a report that was prepared in accordance with Section 78 of the Drainage Act, which is repair and improvement to an existing municipal drain. Okay, maybe that's better. Is that louder? And the Rollston drain is an existing open channel drain. It starts at the upstream end north of Dundas. There were requests in the areas around Dundas and then downstream through lots 13 to 15, crossing Banks Road, Trafalgar, and then Elgin Road on an angle in a southeasterly direction. There is a large drain coming in from the east, downstream of Banks, between Banks and Trafalgar. And it takes quite a bit of watershed as far as Thamesford coming that way. So there are a lot of properties involved. The requests were both with twofold, some maintenance work. So we have brushing and clearing, clean out, and other things that weren't available to do through maintenance, where we have erosion control measures, sediment control measures. There are 2 culverts being replaced as part of this project. There's a culvert under Banks Road. So one is a road culvert and one is a farm culvert downstream of Trafalgar. So there are new culverts involved. There are bank protection areas for erosion where the banks are unstable and eroding. The original portion of the drain that's downstream of Trafalgar was last designed in 1910. So it's quite old in terms of its design. So we now have to look at having better geotechnical available designs. We are looking at flattening the slopes. The soil in that area is not as stable as some other areas. So we have to flatten the slopes, seed the banks down, and get it more stable in the long term. So it can be done in the future. Things can be done under maintenance. This drain is quite flat in areas. Some areas are not as flat, but a lot of it is very flat. So it will require maintenance down the road. Potentially every 7 to 10 years would be my suggestion probably. So establishing the banks that aren't going to be caving in or eroding is critical. I think at that point I'd stop and up to questions.
Thanks, Mike. At this point then, are there any questions from the affected landowners regarding the design and details of the drain? So if you would like to come up to the podium, please, here. And just for the record, if you could state your name and your municipal address, there's a button in the middle there, and when it's red around the mic, you got it. There, go right ahead.
Okay, my name is Jim Crane. My brother and I own a farm together off of Banks Road. And our property, I live at R1 Springfield, Putman Road. So anyways, what I talked to Mike about this, and we had quite a discussion on it. And I actually talked to Travis a bit, and he referred me to Mike. And this drain, we have 20.2 hectares going into the drain, which is basically 50 acres under the old style of talking about things. The drain consists of 2,375 hectares, which means we have less than 0.91% of the water going into that drain, which is a very small percentage. But our section's 4 or 5 acres of it. Definitely, there's a big benefit to us to having it cleaned. And now, what we're paying on that, we're paying 12.81% of the drain. I think I've got these figures pretty accurate. I figured them out and double checked them. So, and the whole drain is $348,000. It's the cost of this drain. And before we get you get money back for because you're going through our farm, our portion of the drain is $44,629. And I've been involved with many municipal drains with Mike. I believe over the years I can count 6, maybe 7. And anyways, we've been on the top end, we've been on the bottom end, we've been in between. And anyways, we're kind of in between on this one. And I guess when we've been on the bottom end, we've been I feel hit with I did some figuring out much bigger percentage or the top end. And I think for the acreage we got going into this, we're paying a little more in our share because there's a lot of acres goes into that drain. Anybody got any questions for me on that?
At this time, this isn't the meeting where we discuss the actual assessments. That will be done at a future meeting. Is that right?
Yes, the quarter revision is the next meeting that deals with the proportion of cost.
So that would be
stop the drain from being cleaned.
Yeah.
It needs to be cleaned. There's some neighbors down the road from us that are desperately need to clean. But anyways,
it's at the next meeting when we sit as the court of revision where you would actually discuss that.
okay. Well,
Okay.
very good then.
All right.
No idea when that might be.
We will be deciding that it's April the 7th.
April 7th. Okay.
And according to the clerk, it will be in Thorndale.
Thorndale.
Yes, as part of the motion, it says there, it will be scheduled for April the 7th of 2026, and there will be information provided.
5 o'clock thing again, likely?
Usually. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Crane. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? So the same procedure, just your name and your property address, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Dick Brouwer. I live at 4883 Dundas Street. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly where, how this drain business works, because I just got a bill last year for one drain. And now I get another bill for a drain or proposed for a drain. I don't know how many drains I'm gonna have on my property, coming off my property, but maybe you can enlighten me on that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
In general terms, without knowing where your property is in particular.
Right at the corner of Dundas and Trafalgar Street.
in Trafalgar. You mean
Dundas Street?
Dundas and Richmond Street? Okay,
Richmond.
okay. Um, Yeah, what I can say is that properties are liable to contribute towards either maintenance of drains or on new capital works where a new engineer's report is prepared. Or-
Those would not be municipal drains, right? That would
No,
be-
I'm talking about municipal drains.
You're talking about municipal.
Yeah,
drains.
so if they're a municipal drain, they could either be created or improved through a new report or maintained by the municipality through the existing report. If it's maintenance, there's no engineer involved. It's just, there's a set of drawings that says this is what the drain is, this is what you go maintain. And the municipality maintains that and bills anybody where the work is or upstream. So if you have water that would leave your property, it may go through 1, 2, or 3 drains before it gets to where the work is being done. But if water leaves your property and gets into that particular drain, then you are liable to contribute in accordance with the schedule of assessment, either the new schedule or the existing schedule. If it's maintenance, there's an existing schedule when the last bylaw was done. So you may be 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers away from where the work is happening, but because your water uses the drain to get to a legal outlet, you are liable to contribute. So for your property, there could be, what I'm looking at on a map, some branches of what's called the Caddy Bot drain. It could be the Caddy Bot drain, main drain. There's also the Rollston drain here that we're working on. And then down below where we're working, that's what's referred to as the Caddy Creek drain.
Yeah, this was the Catty Creek thing.
Yeah, so that area is the same channel, but further downstream from where this work is happening. This work is upstream of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the gallery who wanted to speak? Yes. Again, just if you could use the mic, that we record the meeting, so it
All
makes
right.
it easier.
So my name's Mary Dinner, Tom Dinner, and I own 5349 Dundas Street. And my question is, again, similar thing. What part of the creek or the drain system goes through ours? We're 5349, so we're halfway on the south side between Banks and Rich on Dundas. Yeah.
West of
West.
Purple Hill. Okay, so it looks like there's what's referred to as the Sabo drain, which would be going on an angle through, there's a bunch of really long skinny
Correct.
severed lots. It goes through on an angle through those properties and then outlets into the Rollston drain, which is the drain we're working on.
So
That's about-
where is that on our property?
It's not on, I don't think it would be on your property. It would be on the farm that's at the corner of Banks and Dundas. So the farm that's on the west side of Banks, south of Dundas,
Okay.
is the farm where we'd be starting. There most likely will be maintenance done to the same Rollston drain upstream. We did do a little bit of investigation as part of our work, but we found that the existing drain upstream doesn't need to be changed or improved. It just needs some maintenance to be done. So there may be 2 different projects that are happening on the Rollston. There could be maintenance for the area in around Dundas. And then downstream, as you get closer to Banks Road, from there down, we're doing a new report.
Okay, so how does this coincide with the Caddy Creek that hasn't started yet? How is this Rollston Drain and the Caddy Creek going to work together?
The Caddy Creek report that was done and relatively recently was done. That is downstream of where this work is. So this work will start where the last one left off at the upper limit of its work is this report. So
So Caddy Creek and Rollston Drain are not connected in regards to the maintenance of what has to be done.
these are physically different things, yes.
So they don't tie in. When the maintenance is done on Caddy Creek, is it going to affect anything to the drain, or is the drain work going to affect anything to Caddy Creek? Because we've already had to pay our responsibility portion of Caddy Creek that hasn't begun yet. But now we have this issue with the Rolston drain, also with regards to our property. And both fees, which we'll address on the 7th of April, are quite large for us. That we're now seeing two different sections of our property being dug up to do maintenance. We have crops on our land. How is this going to affect the crops when that gets there?
If the property has the Rolston drain on it, and it's the portion that we're doing the new report work. So when we do work on an improvement through a new engineer's report, there may be crop there and there may not be crop there. It depends at the time that it's arranged. We do have timing windows that we have to adhere to by the environmental agencies. So there may be times that we're not allowed to be in there working. That's set aside. So under a new report, as part of the cost of this report, I have to create allowances, which is for either right of way or damages or both. So we have to assume that there's going to be crop. So we have to say there may be crop there. It's an average crop price, an average yield over an average space granted to the contractor to disturb. So based on those averages, we calculate the amount of disturbance and we calculate and we grant that as part of this. So when the costs are assessed out, if the cost is a certain amount, everybody gets assessed a certain proportion of the cost. Those properties that are being disturbed have the allowances deducted from their cost at the end.
So that has nothing to do with the allowances that have already appeared in the report.
That is this, yes, that is in the report. Those
Okay, so
allowances.
Ours
are-
haven't been assessed with an allowance to our
Yeah.
disturbed.
Yeah, that means that the property in question that you're speaking of is not where the work is happening through this report. If work is done through maintenance and it's done as part of an existing report, there are no allowances when maintenance is granted. It's only through a new engineer's report. So
And this is the new engineers. I'm looking at
Yep.
Schedule C assessment for construction. Rolston Drain 2025. I'm on page 13, which is showing our portion. Is this not part of that new report?
yes,
So
if you're on page 13, if I look for usually dinner,
we're about mid-page.
mid-page. Okay, so what that means is that if you look, that property is assessed what's referred to as outlet. There's no benefit. Okay, benefit is typically close to or where the work is happening. So if I find that property, which is roll number 20-016 on the map, that property is a farm that's on the Cadden lot.
And there's no,
And I don't know of particular work that might be happening there. What happens is the water leaves your property through the caddy bot, travels down the caddy bot. The caddy bot gets to the intersection of Banks and Trafalgar, and then the channel runs along the north side, crosses Banks. It runs along the north side of Trafalgar and then enters this drain on the north side. And then it travels downstream through this drain to get to the original Caddy Creek drain that you were talking about. So water from this property is using this drain, but it's not near the work
okay, so we're just being assessed because,
because your water uses this drain as a legal outlet to get to a safe outlet. All properties within the watershed, all properties that have water that would get into a drain are liable under the Drainage Act to contribute outlet.
okay, so now my question is, how are the allotments, what were they determined to be? There's somebody that has work to be done on their property and they're being assessed that possibly their crop is going to be affected, or something is going to be
They-
affected that they are given an allotment.
The two different types of assessment are what's referred to as benefit and outlet. Benefit is defined in the Drainage Act as better control of surface water, better control of subsurface water, increased land value, better aesthetics. And in this part of Ontario, that's usually fairly close to where the work is happening or where the work is happening. Your property is far enough removed from that you're not receiving benefit. So we first take a look at where the work is happening, who would be benefiting, and take a certain proportion of the cost and charge it out to all those properties that are benefiting. The remaining costs then are assessed over the entire watershed, which is all the properties within this front page plan that shows some of them are in Zora Township and some of them are in this municipality, and divided up to those properties based on the volume of water that each property will generate. The biggest factor in that is the amount of area. How big is your property? The bigger your property, the more water you will generate. And the more water you would send downstream and the more you have to be assessed. The other factor is land use. So if let's say, for instance, if it's a road or an industrial or commercial property that has more hard surface, more roof or more driveway or paved areas, it'll generate more water on a per acre basis or on by area. So we have to factor that in and increase those assessments. If there's a property that has bushland or land that doesn't allow water to get off of it in a normal fashion would be a farm field. So if there's a bush lot or a wetland of some kind, then we would reduce the amount of water coming off per acre. But it's divided up over the entire area.
Okay. All right. That's pretty much it for me for now.
Thanks, Mrs. Dinner. Was there someone else, did I see, with a hand up? So again, your name and your property address, please.
Okay, Greg Taylor, 20049 Heritage Road. The Caddy Bot drain runs the back of our property. We're the third property in on Heritage Road on the west side. That's where is that going to be cleaned out as part of this?
Is it possible I could put that question over to Travis? I mean, I do know there is work that's required in the very lower part along Trafalgar, but I have not been involved with anything upstream of banks.
Okay.
So I don't know if Travis knows of anything.
Thank you, through your worship. I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure the address, if I could hear that again.
20049 Heritage Road. We're the third property north of Highway 2 on Heritage on the west side.
Okay, so we have received a request for maintenance to take place beyond the where Mike's proposed work is, upstream of carry on past Highway 2, where it takes off to the west, we'll say, before it goes north to the bush. I'm discussing what's required with a landowner right now. I don't think they're pushing very hard. I think they'd like to see how this work goes first before they really decide if they want to see the maintenance done. So it's not scheduled at this moment. However, it could be coming.
Okay, good, because in the last 5 years, we've been having a tough time with water in our basement and whatnot. We really noticed a huge difference with the fields and how it holds the water, especially this time of year. And the other thing, if you were going to be doing it, is right now it sits there's about 25 feet of our property on the other side of the drain, which I can't access. Like, okay, at the same time, could we move it over so it's on the property line?
Through your worship, again,
Something for the future.
yeah, that would be something we would need to discuss. Under maintenance, no, we could not do that. We'd have to discuss what actions you'd be needing to take to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there anyone else who needed to speak to this particular drain? Okay, I'm not seeing anything else right at the moment, Mike. So at this time then, would anyone like to add or remove their names from the petition? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. So I'll turn it over to council if they have questions. Council, any questions on this drain? Again, Councillor Crockett, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. I think just because there's quite an audience in here, I'll just kind of reiterate what I was talking about earlier is drains are one of those things that come before council typically because there's maintenance required or a request to come forward. So for us, we like to kind of divert to the experts being the engineers. So we will see you with questions on April 7th, if not, but thanks for all coming in this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Crockett. And no one else from council with a comment or a question? So in that case, we'll move to the decision. So a mover and a seconder. That report number DR 004-26 prepared by the Drainage Superintendent dated March the 9th of 2026 concerning a meeting to consider the Rollston Drain 2025 be received for information, and that the drainage report for the Rollston Drain 2025 as prepared by Spreet Associates dated December the 4th of 2025 be received and adopted, and that the first sitting of the Court of Revision on behalf of the Rollston Drain be scheduled for April the 7th of 2026. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? And that carries. Thanks everyone for your attendance here tonight, and we'll see you again on the 7th of April in Thorndale. Thanks, Mike. So a mover and a seconder that the council adjourn its regular meeting at 5:26 p.m. and move into the planning public participation meeting pursuant to the Planning Act to consider application B 21-25 as listed on the March 9th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda. Moved by Councillor Lockie and seconded by Councillor Heeman. All in favor? And that carries. So the first of the application is 7.1, consent application B 21-25, Kenneth and Shelley Veruga Street, owners and Braden Josh Veruga Street as the agent, part of lots 11 and 12, concession 2 North Dorchester, and parts 4 and 5, and part 1 of part 1 RP 33R 11488. So we'll turn to the planner, Erin Besh. Anytime you're ready.
Thank you very much. So the purpose of this application is to convey a parcel of land for lot addition purposes to be merged in the same name and title to an abutting property to the west, known municipally as 3558 Elgin Road, County Road 73. The subject property is approximately 28.37 hectares in size. It is a farm situated on the southeast corner of Cromedy Drive and Elgin Road. The lands can contain a soil and gravel operation located on the northwest corner of the property, as well as a provincially significant wetland within significant woodlands on the property, both of which are regulated by the Conservation Authority. The remainder of the property is in agricultural production in the form of cash cropping. The subject property is largely designated agricultural within the official plan, with the significant wetland and woodland designation of natural area and environmental area. The subject property is also within the agricultural A zone and the wetland W zone, as well as the environmental protection EP zone. However, the section that we are referring to this evening is just within the agricultural A zone. The lands to be conveyed are approximately 0.37 hectares or 0.91 acres in size. They are vacant of buildings and structures and were previously in agricultural production, but currently contain planted grass. The applicant is proposing to convey the parcel of land to 3558 Elgin Road to provide area for the agent to construct a new dwelling. The lands to be enlarged contain a single detached dwelling with a residential accessory building in the rear yard. This property was previously subject to application for consent B13 2018, which conveyed a half-acre parcel of land from the subject property to enlarge 3558 Elgin Road. Within this area, the applicant has constructed a garage shop, which is accessed via an extension from the existing driveway. The aerial photo is a little misleading as it is from 2020 and the structure has been built since that time. In support of the application, the agent has provided a letter to council advising on why they are requesting the conveyance to double their lot size. The letter is appended to this report and indicates that they wish to construct a new dwelling on the conveyed land as their current house is too close to the road and needs repair. They're also proposing to remain in the current house while constructing the new one, and the existing lot configuration does not have enough room for the additional dwelling. If approved, the retained land, being the subject property, would be approximately 28 hectares in size, and the enlarged property would be approximately 0.73 hectares in size. To facilitate the lot addition, if approved, the conveyed portion would be required to be merged in PIN and title to the adjacent lot to ensure that no new lot is being created. So the application proposes to convey almost a 1 acre parcel of agricultural land to enlarge the abutting residential property. While the proposal is framed as a lot addition, I am of the opinion that the scale and purpose of the conveyance extends beyond what would be reasonably considered a minor boundary adjustment in the agricultural area. I do note that the lands to be enlarged have previously benefited from this type of application, which conveyed approximately half an acre from the same agricultural holding. This application would further enlarge the residential parcel, effectively doubling its lot area. When considered cumulatively, this pattern of expansion does raise concerns as repeated lot enlargements incrementally reduce the agricultural land base and establishes a precedent for ongoing residential encroachment into the prime agricultural area. The lands proposed to be conveyed were previously in production, and their removal would result in the permanent loss of nearly 1 acre of agricultural land. The proposal does not improve the agricultural viability of the retained farm parcel, nor is the adjustment required for legal or technical reasons as contemplated by provincial and local policy. Rather, this conveyance is intended to accommodate the construction of a new residential dwelling, which is not a planning objective within the agricultural designation. In addition, the proposed lot configuration would result in a development pattern that is not characteristic of orderly rural development. The construction of a new dwelling toward the rear of the enlarged lot would place 2 large accessory buildings between the public road and the dwelling. As noted by the chief building official, this arrangement would ultimately result in a zoning non-compliance once the existing dwelling is removed, as accessory structures are not permitted within the front yard. Staff are of the opinion that this configuration represents inefficient site planning in an undesirable built form that does not align with the intent of the zoning bylaw. So taken together, the cumulative expansion of the residential lot, the loss of agricultural land, and the absence of a legal or technical reason, the staff are unable to find planning support for this application. So with that being said, I did circulate the application as per the requirements of the Planning Act. We did receive a number of comments. The Conservation Authority advised of no objections as the scope of the application is well outside the wetland and the significant woodlands. The chief building official again did recognize that there would be a zoning non-compliance. If the application were to be approved, that could likely be dealt with through a minor variance application. If, of course, council, that would be up to council's approval as well. And the county engineer also advised that the owner, if approved, would be required to dedicate lands up to 18 meters from the center line of construction of Elgin Road across both the severed and retained parcels for the purpose of road widening in the road widening in the future if the width is not to that degree as of now. I did do some quick measurements just using our mapping program. It appears that the property line is approximately 15 meters from the center line of road construction. So it would be a 3-meter dedication along the frontage of the entire property. So with that, we did also receive a letter from the Middlesex Federation of Agriculture advising of their objection to the application, stating the protection of agricultural land. And that was, I believe, circulated to council as well. So that being said, my recommendation this evening is refusal of the application for the following reasons. The application is not consistent with the provincial planning statement. The application does not maintain conformity with the county or the local official plan, and the application does not satisfy the requirements of the zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. So at this time, is the owner or agent in the wishing to speak? Okay, do you want to come to the mic and just introduce yourself? Yeah, there you go.
I'm Brady Brewstraight. I live at 3558 Elgin Road, and I am the person pushing this application. Obviously, I sent my letter to you guys to council regarding this ask. I know it's not a normal one, but saying that I had in my letter to you guys that there was an accident there about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, where someone died hitting the tree on my front lawn. If it weren't for that tree, they would have went straight through the 4 vehicles parked in my laneway, which could be a place where we were all standing. Kids are running around, busy time on a busy road, right? So there's that. The other thing too is obviously knowing that when this got circulated to Middlesex, to the county, they came back and basically said that they'd be looking at doing an 18-meter from center line property adjustment. And like just seeing that, if, going forward, if I were to say fix the existing house, try and make do with what I have, like the crack foundation being one of them. So try and make this house work that I have now that's existing. And then 10 years down the road, I'm going to be losing another 3 meters of property to the front of my house. So just knowing that and having the opportunity that it might come down the road, that it does get wide, and it's just going to be closer to my front yard, which is concerning to me. Second, I've been living in Thames Center my whole life. That corner is basically where I grew up, family, friends, and I want to be able to stay at home and raise a family and build a new house and have family close by for support. Obviously, times are tough in Canada, especially Ontario, and that little extra would be very beneficial for us. Regarding the letter from the agricultural of Middlesex, this is the second time that this application's been circulated, and this is only the first time that we've heard from him regarding this ask. In his report, he basically stated that it would make it tough to farm that land, as the parcels wouldn't line up square to what the existing ones are with the 2 other houses beside mine. I feel like that's pretty inadequate for given how farmers farm these days. Everything's electronic. They can plant seed where seed isn't planted, and seed doesn't plant where seed is planted. This property is already a lot of corners and turns from my parents' farm, 2539 Cromley Drive. So I just feel like that wouldn't really be affecting the agricultural premises of that extra piece added on to my house. One other thing, knowing that Middlesex, with the county of Middlesex, is going to one day widen that road or want to have that extra 3 meters, the burden's being put on me, the homeowner, for the surveying costs. When this first circulated, the first time I put this application in, I had to withdraw my application based on finding out more info. I was only given a week notice prior to the original meeting for this circulation based on his requirements. And I went out and got quotes on what the surveying would be, and it's pretty substantial. And that obviously had us thinking as a family and how we were going to go about this, because it's really affecting my parents' property as well, because it's the whole farm on 73. So that 3 meters would be up all the way past, like up to the hill, and then to Cromley Drive. So the county of Middlesex would really be benefiting from that as well, and the burden would be put on me. And instead of them in the long run having to come back to the homeowner of myself and my parents, that would already be done and finished. It wouldn't be a financial burden on the county. So, at the end of the day, what I'm asking for is just to be able to raise a family close to home and do it safely. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Brady. Is there anyone online or in the council chambers who wanted to speak to this application? I don't see anyone, and there's no one online, Sarah.
There's no one online,
No,
Worship.
okay then. In that case, I'll turn it over to any questions that the members of council may have. Deputy Mayor Smyber?
Thank you. Thank you, Brady, for your presentation. And I think it's great that you want to build your family in Thames Center. I always pictured this as the Verga Strait corner, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure why we just don't kind of rename that particular area. But I do have a couple questions. So first of all, like it looks to me as if there's already been a road widening on the existing, like where the house is. And that's why we're seeing that little cutout. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So it would just, if it was approved, then it would just kind of straighten out that line. So
Yeah,
it's already
from
on.
the existing, like, yeah, it would be one straight line all the way across.
Mhm.
Because I guess when this happened in 2018, that wasn't in the official
Right.
plan to take
Okay.
the original piece.
Okay.
But yeah, it'd be a straight line.
Okay, that's great. The other question I guess I had is, it seems as if you have room on what is it, the other side of the property without having to convey or add to the parcel. Are there more rigid setbacks because of where you're located next to the
The
business
dirt
there?
pit? To be honest with you, I haven't looked that much into it regarding that. Beside, like, if the piece that's close to the road beside there, just aesthetically, it's not going to look the best based on the secondary dwelling, like
Right.
the shop. And then also saying that there's the back of the land, there's where the existing houses, there's stuff things there as well. So I don't know the whole rule exactly of how close that could be though.
Right. So my other, I guess, question, or I guess it's more of a comment. It's interesting. I think my concern, though, Brady, is the fragmentation of farmland as referenced in Middlesex Federation of Agriculture. Because it's interesting what you said. You had indicated that, with technology, tractors can kind of, work around those corners and that sort of thing, because we recently have received applications that want to straighten out those corners so
Right.
that the farm tractors can, they're better able to maneuver, within those areas. So I just thought that's an interesting comment that you made, but we've heard the other side of that too.
Right, yeah, and just for clarification too, 3/4 of that piece of land that I'm requesting to merge onto my place is planted grass. There's no future of it ever being farmed again. And that is specifically for the reason that we spend all our time out back, away from the road, dogs, animals, family.
That's all the questions I had. Thanks.
Anyone else with question? Councillor Heeman?
So, I think like we're allowed like rural lots up to a hectare, with like the guidance. Is that not the guidance with farm severances, that it has to be, under a hectare is the general limit? And as far, I'm not as good at math I'm not very good at math in general, but it seems like it's underneath that 1 hectare amount. And, these are family lands. And, if you want to stay in the community, I'm assuming you'll probably participate in that family farming operation in the future. So I think that these, the perceived inconvenience would be to his own operation. And, when we have looked at those squaring up of lands, the most recent one I can remember, it was expanding it into the field line, right? So it did take up more land. So I think, you can make additions to a rural residential lot as long as it's underneath the 1 hectare was my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but and then I think, if you look at the added provisions that we have now for rural residential, to have ancillary dwellings, accessory dwellings, accessory, building and ancillary buildings, I do think that you are going to get an efficient use of the land for housing, and I think that's within the current planning framework. So I don't really have a problem with this and under that light, but I'm open to correction on that, but that's kind of my understanding.
Thanks, Councillor Heeman. Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Lockie?
Yeah, through your worship. This is to the applicant. So I appreciate you coming out here, and I think it's fantastic that, you know, that safety is really important to you. But unfortunately, I'm concerned that if we approve this, we're going to be setting precedent for encroachment of residential onto agricultural lands, and I think that we have a duty to preserve that. So I am inclined to be in favor with the recommendation from the planner.
Thanks, Councillor Lockie. Councillor Crockett?
Thank you, Mayor. I think a few of my questions that I had when this report came forward were already answered through Aaron's presentation. Those being the time of the previous boundary adjustment and kind of what the lands together look like in order to be able to build a new house. And as you mentioned, I think the one outstanding piece of that was kind of where your septic was located, and you answered that. The other piece was looking at the county road easement encroachments. This map helps a little bit, although much larger in scale. And I know that we have maybe not particularly these three properties, but we do have a lot of properties where the encroachment pretty much ends up in people's living rooms. But I think any closer on the busy county roads are concerning for our residents, considering our many traffic complaints that come forward. Just to kind of reiterate what Deputy Mayor Smybert said, I think MFA put forward a logical opposition to this, but I do think that it can be appeased, although I'm not in support of losing agricultural lands. I think it's always a unique situation when it's a family-owned property. I think I look at this as a succession opportunity for yourself and your family, as well as your parents. And I think as much as I'd really like to be in supportive of the planner's recommendation, I think we have to look at what's here as well. Oh, my other piece was on the CBO's comments regarding the accessory building being located in the front yard. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of what that would entail with like a minor variance and everything.
Yeah, so Lindsay, we spoke about that. They said, I think that we'd have to go through a minor variance and then approved by council. Be able to do that.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that that
Right.
was brought forward. I had
Yeah.
no doubt planning did that, but just wanted to highlight that. So thanks for coming out this evening.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, I think we've pretty much, Deputy Mayor Smybert?
Sorry, I just wanted to get confirmation from the planner in terms of Councillor Heeman's comments. This property is zoned agricultural, right? It's not a rural agriculture or anything else. It's straight up agriculture, right? Where the minimum lot area then is the 40 hectares. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments from council. So, Councillor Heeman?
Yeah, just like, I guess, clarification, because there's two lots involved in this proposal, right? So I think the one is rural residential and the other one is agriculture. So I was looking at the rural residential guidelines. So anyway.
All right, so if there are no other questions or comments, the public participation meeting is now closed and we will move to a decision. So the decision before council is that report number PDS 011-26 be received for information, and that the application for consent B2125 requested by Kenneth and Shirley Veruga Street to convey a parcel of land having an area of approximately 0.37 hectares or 0.91 acres for lands legally described as part lots of 11 and 12 concession 2 North Dorchester and parts 4 and 6 and part 1 of RP 33R 11488 Municipality of Thames Center be refused for the following reasons, which are appended to your agenda. So a mover and a seconder for the motion. Moved by Councillor Lockie and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor? Any opposed? Two opposed? All things considered, I believe I'm in support of the application. Pardon? I'm opposed to the current recommendation. So the motion is sorry.
I think he's gonna, Councilor Keeman's gonna ask what I think you guys are talking about.
Okay.
We really can't, even if council wants to make a decision, we really need the staff to come back with a report with the conditions so that we can properly approve it.
Sorry, that's what we were getting at. Takes
know.
a little time. Councillor Heeman,
I would motion for approval, pending report and conditions. No, okay. Well, then motion for deferral pending conditions.
we won't let the clerk.
I'm going to
give-
apologize for my voice. You're better off to do staff be directed to report back on a approval, recommendation with approval and conditions. I know it saves it time, but I don't believe there are conditions approved unless, Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this, or I don't believe there's any conditions prepared. So you need.
Yeah,
to
we haven't, through the mayor, we haven't prepared conditions. So we're quite satisfied to bring back a report with conditions next meeting.
Councillor Heeman,
I would move to direct staff to bring back a report, with conditions.
okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Crockett? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, so, any opposed? Okay. So the motion. So, Mr. Burgess, just so that you understand the back and forth, we'll be asking staff for another report to come back to council with any conditions they would recommend. Okay? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. So at this time, close the public participation meeting to adjourn at 5:53 p.m. and reconvene its regular council meeting. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Smybert, and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the previous minutes held of the council meeting held February the 23rd, 26th, and the minutes of the special council meeting held on February the 26th of 26, being approved as circulated. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Heeman. All in favor? And that carries. Consent items are listed under, I'm sorry, let me start again. Items listed under the consent agenda are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. A mover and a seconder that consent, or wait a minute, there is one to be, yes, go ahead, Deputy, Councillor Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. For record, I would like to pull 9.3 and 9.4 and speak to both of them collectively. These are in regards to support for increased school bus safety, particularly installing school bus cameras on school bus stops arms. We've had 2, 3 motions go forward from this council in support of this and go up to the province. I think if you read through the reports, specifically Grenville's letter, the statistics are appalling. I know that tomorrow Middlesex County will also be looking at their 2021, 2022 roads report, and they have a section on school bus vehicles. Also doesn't look good, and the issues just seem to be increasing. I know that we also had a direction for the local school committee to look at supporting the No Excuses campaign, which came out of a tragic death of a student getting off the school bus here in Middlesex County. So I feel like it's very important to support these resolutions. And not only they be escalated back up to the province, but also that correspondence should be shared with our local school bus operators, such as My Big Yellow Bus, LG Bus Line, Student First. I think having showing support for them in order to lobby for this initiative would be really important. So if I can ask staff to do that. And then right before the meeting, our Director Craven shared with me that now that the frost is out of the ground, we will be installing 2 school bus signs on Westchester Bourne 73. So these will be, 74. Thanks. These will be the large white and black signs that indicate stopping for school buses in both directions. So I'm very happy that those will be coming forward. And I thank the work of Thames Center and the county in coordinating that, and look forward to seeing them up, and hopefully people will start to listen. Thanks.
We can only hope. Councillor Heeman.
Well, I would like to echo Councillor Crockett's words and support for this. You know, as someone with a young son, I've seen this firsthand. You know, we're lucky to have same side drop off, or we were, you know, in the latter half of the year. And, you know, I saw a full gravel truck blow past the stop sign, and I could smell the brakes walking all the way up to our house. So and now he's dropped off on the other side, so he does have to cross. And, you know, if that same thing were to happen, that would, that wouldn't be desirable. So I do think we need more significant deterrence in place. And I think this is a no-brainer.
Thanks, Councillor Heeman. Deputy Mayor Smyver.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to Councillor Crockett's notes there that when the school advisory committee endorsed that resolution, as you recall, council did endorse that as well. And that went to county council, and county council endorsed that resolution. And we also brought it to our OPP local detachment. And so you're getting some traction there. And I just want to applaud all the good work that you're doing behind the scenes and trying to get this out in front of more municipalities and more of the school boards. Your hard work is, you're doing lots of great things. So thank you.
And just to add, we did make a presentation to the Ministry of Transport at AMO. I believe it was AMO and MoMA. And this is something that a lot of municipalities are pushing, because it is not happening just here. It is happening everywhere. And just as recently as last week, some of the incidents, it's just unbelievable. It's really time for people to start checking when they're driving, where they're going, what they're passing, and little kids on the road. Okay, thank you. Councillor Crockett, you have something?
Sorry, just to add, Deputy Mayor's comment put a flag up for me, is that last week, Middlesex and West Central OPP also did a school safety blitz, and it'll be interesting once those stats are shared and see what happened. I know, unfortunately, it was brought to my attention that there were 3 incidents last week alone. So hopefully we can start to mitigate those.
Thank you all for your comments. So, back to the motion, that so the new motion is the consent items 9.1, 9.2, and 9.5 through 9.10 be received for information, and that council support 9.3 and 9.4 and send to the local school bus operators. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Deputy, Jeebus. Councillor Lockie. Sorry, I can't read tonight. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. So moving on to item number 10 on our agenda, reports of departments. We'll look to our clerk, Janet Nethercock, to the use of corporate resources during an election policy.
So because of my voice, I'm not going to say much. It was updated as per the Elections Act. If you have any questions, let me know.
That was pretty short and sweet. Good. Councillor Heeman.
I would move to approve.
Okay. And second, question? Certainly.
Yeah, through your worship. Yeah, thanks for drafting this. There's one part though that I was hoping to get clarification on. So this would be regarding the use of the municipality's email, because there could be times where we are approached through our municipality email address. And I was wondering if we could have direction on how to handle that situation.
Sure, your best advice would be to actually probably have an outlook, like an automatic response that telling people that if this is election related, to please use an election email, whatever your personal is. Or if they do respond to you that way, ask them just to respond to them from your personal email and ask that they use this for election purposes. It keeps it out of A, the corporate record, and B, it keeps you from using municipal resources.
Thank you for the clarification. That's it.
Were there any other questions or comments? Okay, so it was moved by Councillor Heeman and we need a seconder. Deputy Mayor Smyberg, all in favor? And that carries as well. The next item on the agenda is 10.2 Heritage Depot Agreement. And we'll look to Director McDonald to present.
Good afternoon through you, your worship. Council has before you report number CSF 005-26, which is a proposed facility rental agreement for the Heritage Depot project following council's approval of this group's lease of space proposal, which was reviewed at our January 26th meeting earlier this year. At that time, staff were directed to report back with a proposed agreement for their free lease of space of Smitty's Lounge. The proposed agreement has been vetted by county legal and our insurance broker, along with input from county IT regarding internet service. Staff also had ongoing consultations with the Thames Center Working Group in order to get to the proposed agreement that is now in front of you. Susan and Nancy are here with us this evening. Should council have any questions for them? Key details of this agreement include free use of Smitty's Lounge for 12 months with the option to extend. At our regular lease rate, this 223 square foot room would rent for just over $100 a month. Thames Center is covering the cost of utilities, internet, and insurance. And Thames Center agrees to assist with grants where feasible. And also, please note one update to the first paragraph on page 2 of the agreement. This agreement was going to come before council in our last meeting in February. However, then that got delayed. So on the top of page 2, it's got February dates for the start and end of the agreement. So instead, those should be adjusted to start tomorrow and end a month or a year from tomorrow. So that's the only change. And I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have at this time.
Thank you, Director McDonald. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. No question in particular. I think you mentioned this the last time this came forward. It's nice to see you all have a home now, and we're excited to kind of see what comes out of it. So
Thanks, Councillor Crockett. Anyone else? Okay, so the motion is attached to your agenda, and I wonder if we have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor? And that carries. And thank you to Susan and Nancy for your attendance here. Thank you, Steve. Okay, reports of departments is item number 11 on your agenda. The motion is that the reports of committee agenda items 11.1 and 11.2 be approved as presented, unless there is anything that council wants to flag on any of those reports. Okay, a mover and a seconder then. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. So I do have a brief report of my activities since our last report. So since my last report, a summary of my activities over the period involved meetings of both Thames Centre Council and Middlesex County, meetings of the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, including their AGM. And I just want to draw to your attention to a synopsis of that CA's activity is appended to the agenda in video format. And I would encourage you to read it so that you know what's going on in one of our conservation authorities that we are paying fees to. Also, a meeting with the wardens of both Middlesex County and Elgin County to discuss some matters pertaining to both our counties. A local meeting to discuss the potential of the CA amalgamation in the province. That's Conservation Authority amalgamation. Attendance at Camp Bell to present the Scouts with the Green Champion Award. The annual general meeting of the SCORE, which again stands for South Central Ontario Regional Economic Development Board in Tillsonburg, and was able to speak to for a few minutes with the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra, to try and advance our need for an expansion of the West Missouri Public School in Thorndale. And finally, the special counsel concerning the proposed Acorn Valley subdivision on February 26th. And that's the summary of the report. No unfinished business and no motions and any new business. Okay. So item number 16, a mover and a seconder that bylaws 6-2026 and 7-2026 be given third and final reading, and that bylaws 24-2026 through 26-2026 be read a first, second, and third time and be adopted. Moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And the meeting schedule upcoming is, the next one is Monday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. here in the council chambers. It'll be our regular meeting. And then Tuesday, April the 7th at 5 p.m., also a regular meeting in the Thorndale Lions Community Center. So we will move for adjournment at 6:08 p.m. A mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you all.